One. Welcome back to another episode here on the Hard Hustle Podcast. We got Mr. Trace. Trace, where are we talking from, man? Where are you located in this world of U.S.? Alabama, born and raised?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. And what organization are you representing today?
Oaks Collaborative.
And this is something that is very special to you, isn't it?
Yes, this is something that I started this ministry and have really had walked it through multiple seasons. The Lord has used it in a lot of ways and grown me through it. It's been a labor of love, but man, one that I wouldn't trade for the world for sure.
I love it. A very different conversation that we're going to be having today as well. But I think it's also very needed. One, because of the times that we're in today, but also for those that may be thinking that the shift from high school to college, that maybe they will lose that, or maybe they need to find it, right? I think there's so many opportunities. Is this organization something that is tapping into multiple universities and colleges? Is it something that it's offsite? How does someone even get involved into this?
Yeah, so yeah, our ministry is at currently 25 different cities around the nation, and those cities, college towns for the most part. Multiple of them have multiple college campuses that we represent there. So I'm here at Auburn, so obviously Auburn University. There's also a large, junior college here, but then there's also Tuskegee University that's just 15, 20 minutes down the road that we also serve, and so most of our schools are like that. So we're talking about, a large number of universities that we serve and a large number of incoming college students that we're trying to bless them as they make this transition. So yeah, our goal is to try and help be that bridge to make that transition from high school to college, one that can be done vibrantly. We are a Christ-centered ministry, and so we are trying to help people. The statistic says that people, 67% of people that grew up in the church, grew up claiming Christianity, will fall away from their faith in college. And so we're wanting to help prevent that, but also at the same time, Ephraim, man, that's just a critical moment in anyone's life. And so we have a lot
Yeah.
of people coming that they need friends as they're starting college because it's scary, to move across the country or even just move across the state, go off to college, and who are going to be my people? Where do I fit? All those kind of things. And we exist to really serve them in that moment and surround them with amazing people that will walk with them through college.
And were you someone that had this growing up, like before college? Did you grow up in the church, or just something that actually just came to you while at church? I mean,
Yeah, no,
while
man.
in college.
So no, I did not grow up in the church. I gave my life to Christ late in high school, and um, and then I came off to college soon there afterwards. Um, very zealous for the Lord and wanting to serve Him and wanting to make His name known, both in my hometown, but then also when I went to college on my college campus. But I didn't have anything like this, and to be honest with you, I didn't fall away from my faith in college, but I did just waste a lot of time
Yeah.
in spiritual immaturity and trying to find my way, trying to figure out who I was, trying to find my people, like those kind of things that if I had had something like this, oh, I think it would have been a game changer for me. And so that's essentially why we started this. I'd heard about a similar concept at another school, pretty far from here, and I was just like, I want to start this at Auburn. So that's where we started the first one back in 2012, and then since then it's just been growing and really having a profound impact on both individuals' lives, but also on lives of like kind of across the campus and across the churches in each campus.
If I'm a student at a university, how do I get involved? Is this something that you guys are on site? I'm going to a website. How's that communication come across?
Yeah, so we are a ministry that's really like powered by current college students. So when we started a new campus, we're immediately looking for a strong little band of college students that see the need for this. They kind of do the same thing I did, which is they hear the vision and they go, "Ah, Lee, that's what I needed when I was a incoming freshman." And so we look for those students, they get involved and they start planning the retreat for their campus. They start, you know, laying it out how it needs to be. We have the systems, the infrastructure, but they start planning it out and then they start inviting the incoming freshmen and transfer students that are going to, be on campus in the fall. So right now, we're in June right now as you and I are talking, and so we're doing a lot of promotion of this, wanting to let incoming students know about it before they get on campus. And so then, yeah, an incoming student, if, freshman or transfer student, hopefully they find out about it through whatever means, word of mouth or their hometown church, or just, you know, through a podcast like this, they find out about it, and then they can register through our website, show up. They can come by themselves, they can come with friends, but come and then just be a part of the 3-day 2-night event is what it is. That happens 2 or 3 weeks before classes start, but it introduces them to the people that really will be their community on throughout college. You know what I'm saying?
Got
And
it.
and so it just that's how you kind of jump in. And then for us, a win like is is getting them connected to Christ-centered community, local churches, campus ministries. That's a win for us. And if they want to continue on and be involved with us the next year by leading the next year's retreat, great. But if that's the main way we could bless and serve them, then we're happy with that.
Is this a for profit or a nonprofit?
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit, and man, that is a world that I've been figuring out for the past I've been doing this now full time for almost 7 years. So kind of did it. I was a pastor. I was a college pastor at a local church before this. That's when we started the first retreat, and didn't do it very well, and knew that I needed to step away from being a pastor to do this full time. And man, it has been a learning curve that has been a school of hard knocks. But man, it's been sweet.
What is some of the things that you learned? Because I think a nonprofit runs as a business. So if you have that business mindset, I think a nonprofit you could really fit in. But what are some of the things that you learned that you didn't expect about a nonprofit? I would say from that you didn't know because it doesn't happen in the for-profit sector.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the old saying, you don't know what you don't know. I learned that really quickly, really, really profoundly early. And so I think the first thing I learned is that like going back to what you said, there is a lot to learn from the for-profit sector. And so, man, I've had mentors in my life that were guys that were very successful. I just met with a guy this morning for breakfast and just was picking his brain on some things, and he was super helpful. He kind of operates is in the for-profit world and kind of in the franchise, world. And so he was super helpful for me. So I learned there's a lot to learn from that, but then of course it has to be translated into what it really means for the nonprofit world. So um, I think that some of the biggest things that I had to learn is relationships are everything. I think in for-profit, and relationships are of course important in for-profit, but man, in nonprofit, relationships are everything. Relationships with every person that our ministry could touch, and that's with the ministries we're trying to serve, with the students that we're trying to reach, with the students that are part of our leadership development that we're doing, with donors, with everybody. I was one of these guys that I love to get stuff done. You know what I'm saying? Like, for better or for worse, I'm a doer, and I realized, like, oh no, like I need to slow down and prioritize relationships, because relationships are where really the magic all happens for us as a nonprofit. I think that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of other I could take all day telling you other things, but I think that was the biggest thing for me.
No, I think relationships do matter. I think I may have told you that I run an organization myself that is a nonprofit, and this is a 30-year-old organization that has not really been built on relationships, and you feel it now because they haven't been able to fund. They haven't. It's so hard to go and say, hey, where do we start, because there was no relationships that were actually built. But then I speak to someone else that's very similar space and saying, yeah, man, we're getting $10,000 donations from this company and this company. And I always say that you have to build those relationships, but the money's out there. Someone told me, this is really, really young days, man. I started a nonprofit, I think maybe 22 years old. And young, seen this real estate agent, had money, lived in a nice, house, nice car. And I'm like, you know what? I should do real estate. So I said, hey, man, how do I get into real estate? And he says, Ephraim, you're in the nonprofit world. You're in the asking business. People are willing to give you $1 million, but you haven't even found them to go ask. right? And it's but building those relationships because it's just not going to happen. People got to understand who you are. What is your why? Who are you? Are you trustworthy? What are you doing with the finances? And I think just being yourself, Trace, is what gotten you this far. I mean, you go from just one to now 25 schools, right? What is the goal? Like, do you have a certain amount in your head that you're wanting to reach maybe by a certain time?
Yeah. Well, well, okay, hold on. Let me answer. I want to answer that question, but I want to go back. One more profound lesson that I do want to share.
Let's
Because you
go.
mentioned the fundraising, right?
Yeah.
The fundraising, I think early on, I saw fundraising as a necessary evil to like do the ministry that we wanted to do, like to fulfill the mission.
Yep.
And I had to learn, no, fundraising is actually a part of the mission, right? Like bringing other people in that do have resources and that do believe in what you're doing, and they want to use their resources in a way that they don't have time to, but they can do it through you by supporting. That was another big lesson for me to learn of like that's a huge part of it. Like fundraising is a part of the mission, not just something you have to do to fund the mission. So that going back to your question of like where do we see this going and where we see it growing, you know, like I was mentioning, our ministry has a mission of changing that statistic of how many people fall away from their faith between high school and college. And we also just have the mission of we want to just be a blessing to anyone entering into college, be that bridge for them, serve them. And we do want to kind of change the collegiate landscape from what it currently is to one that's just more healthy, specifically for like state colleges have always been known as a place of like spiritual decline. We want them to be known as a place of like spiritual thriving. Like, where parents aren't so worried of like, oh man, if I send my kid off to a state school, they're gonna go crazy, and then it's like no, like oh, that could be a great place for them to grow, so all those kind of things. So with that kind of audacious goal that we have. We have 25 retreats across the nation now, spread as far north as Minnesota to, south of Florida and LSU. And so our heart and our plan right now is to keep expanding to every major university in our nation. I look at the stat, this year, Efrain, we'll have 4,000 incoming freshmen come to our retreats. That's exciting. I love
Oh,
that.
that's a lot. Yeah.
And I also look at the number that there's, on average, each year, 2 million students will be entering into college right after high school. And so that 2 million, man, that's where we
Yeah.
want to get to. So that means spreading across the nation, creating more of these on more campuses. And so, yeah, that's where we're going. And so right now, the big thing that I'm learning and trying to grow in and is just how to scale with wisdom, right? Like not growth for the sake of growth, but growth in a way that is furthering our mission, but is also wise and isn't going to cripple our mission because we tried to grow too fast. Those are some of the things I'm learning as we try to expand now.
I have 2 questions. I love this. I love that you're an entrepreneur, that you're doing this, that you've scaled as you had. I guess one is for those that maybe, okay, how can I donate? What's my funds goes to? So we can kind of talk about what those funds go to. But also, you being in the space of an entrepreneur, like, how are you feeling? Because I think that it is a very sometimes a lonely world out there when there's not enough people in your circle that may have the same mindset of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the entrepreneurship thing, man, is that, you know, we use the terms in our ministry of creator. There are creators, there are cultivators, and there are curators. So a curator, like think about a museum curator. Those are the people that just they know how to put things in the right place for the greatest effectiveness, right? Cultivators know how to take what's there and get even more growth out of it, even more fruitfulness out of it. And the creators are the ones who they get joy out of starting things up. I am a creator, but I operate like I have a co-executive director, and that has been a key to the health of our ministry because I'm a creator. She is a cultivator. So she knows how to take what I've started and then bring even greater fruitfulness out of it. She probably leads our staff more so than I do because she's so great with like investing in our staff team. So I think one of the biggest things about entrepreneurs is that I can have this like excitement about creating more, starting up new campuses, but you got to have the right people around you that are then going to take what you started and bring it to what it really needs to be, is to further it, to cultivate it so that more growth comes out of it and so that it's healthy. Because if I didn't have those people around me, all the things that I'd started would be withering away right now, you know? So I think it's getting those right people around you so that once you start, they're healthy. So that's, but I love it, man. I have always been kind of entrepreneurially minded, even though the Lord called me into ministry. Um, I, I this entrepreneurial thing. So now essentially I'm just an entrepreneur, you know, for Jesus, I guess. Like I love starting up these
I
things.
love it.
And so it's great. So what would intimidate some people of going to a new college campus and meeting with these people to start up this new thing, to me, that's so exciting. So I think if that's you, like do it. If that's not you, maybe you're the cultivator. Maybe you need to find someone that's the creator that would get excited and bring them around you, because I just I'm really mindful of where I'm gifted and where I'm weak. And I think I think our American mindset often is like we're not supposed to have weaknesses, but so it's like focus on your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. It's like, no, I want to really lean into my strengths and just manage my weaknesses. And the way I manage my weaknesses is by the amazing people I have around me. So I think that's the big thing I'd say about that entrepreneurship and growth
Real
mindset.
quick, Trace, before you move on to the other part, I actually was having this conversation with maybe my wife. I can't remember exactly who, but as men, right, is the strengths and the weaknesses, and it is fine. Like you said, okay, understanding what my strengths and weaknesses are, and making sure that I can find people for those weaknesses. Because I think at some point we wanted to do it all. When does Trace say, you know what, I cannot do it all? I need to lean into other people that can help me. Because I can imagine that there was that ego sometimes that said, I'm going to do it. And you're probably running and wearing all the hats. But at some point you had to say, no, this can't be possible.
Yeah, man, I think this is probably the most important thing I've learned in leadership. Um, and it's that, and this is a core value of our ministry. It's the first core value, and it's humility. As I think that any leader that's actually going to do something worth doing, that's actually going to um, serve people well, and this is true for for profit and for nonprofit. This is true in Christian ministry, and this is true in secular business worlds. You know, anything. So it's that humility. It's that willingness to recognize who you are, how you are made, and admit where you are weak. I think that and then of course, how can I serve others too? So I I think that as a male specifically, like you asked, yeah, there we are encouraged towards pride. Essentially, is we would never call it that, but it's almost like we're pushed towards that. Like, show yourself strong, show yourself able to do anything. But man, humility, I think, is where true like leadership starts. I really believe that, and so yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. No, yeah. I actually, the only reason I say that is I found myself doing that recently. Like I told you I lead this organization. We have this organization for the last 5 years probably has not done well. So the next event that we do, that it's a fundraiser, has to be done well, right? From a leadership perspective, but also as that rebranding, the re-energize. And I was just talking to an event planner. I'm like, we have to hire an event planner. Clearly, our team we cannot do that. It stressed us out last time. Let's not stress ourselves out this time. Let's find that person. Then as I'm talking to the event planner, she's just like, I'm already thinking on who is the go-to before and who's the go-to the day of. It can't be me, because I already know where I'm going to be mentally. I know where I'm going to be at physically because I've done this. Emotionally, I know where I'm going to be at. So I cannot, and then I got to speak at this event. Then I got, there's so many different hats that you wear. So it's understanding who to put in what places, understanding what people's strengths are themselves. Like that's why I think relationships, you talked about relationships, are so important, is because we got to understand who we are working with. So we know what they can do and what they can't do. And I've been able to kind of figure that out, but it took some time. And I always remember this one gentleman when I was super young. He says, Efron, I cannot work with you. He says, one day you'll find a team, and when you do, it would you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I never knew what he meant by that. And now I feel like, oh, the people that really compliment me, because not everyone's going to compliment you. So no, man, I think you kind of hit it on the head, and I'm glad that we're just learning, right? Every day as entrepreneurship is a very learning day. It is difficult for those that think it's easy. It's not. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it is so rewarding when you just figure it out as well, right? I feel like all the pieces of the puzzles are there. You just got to put them together.
So true, man. And yeah, and it's like you said, it's being willing to ask for help or just recognize, hey, I need something else. I think, like I said, I'm a Christian, and so I learn a lot of. I think some people neglect the leadership lessons that there are all across the scriptures. And one of the earliest is Moses when he's leading all the people of Israel, and this is Exodus 18:18, I believe, and it says this is when his father-in-law showed up. And at this point, everybody in Israel is coming to ask Moses what they should do about this. And hey, will you judge between me and my neighbor over this thing? And Moses' father-in-law shows up and he goes, essentially, what are you doing? Like, this is not sustainable. And the quote is this: you're going to wear out both yourself and these people that are with you. You cannot do it alone. The task is too heavy. And so then he gave Moses the idea of, like, essentially a leadership team. Hey, you're going to appoint these people who are going to oversee these people who are then going to care for all these people. And it's like it was this kind of tiered system. And it's like that's what we need. We need to first recognize that we can't do it. It's not good for us, and it's not good for the people that we're leading. And then we got to come up with a system that'll make it where it's sustainable for us, and it's the best care for the people that we're leading, both the people on our immediate team, but also for the people that we're serving.
I love that. And I actually want to kind of go back because you said you were a pastor and then you're at this point still leader. They're both leaderships, but you have a different way of even looking at the word pastor nowadays. Can you kind of explain that to those that are listening or watching?
Yeah, man, I have a lot of thoughts on that, but yeah, like I think pastor is as my role as a pastor, I always saw it as what it truly is. It's a shepherd, right? That's what the term actually means, shepherd. Like, and I think it's become such an office and such an authoritarian type of role in so many churches. But man, biblically, and the example that Jesus gave was that of a shepherd willing to get down into the muck and the mire with his sheep, to serve them, to care for them, to protect them, and that's what I learned there. I got there is a business side of churches too that I that is a little bit can be a little bit like gross at times. And some pastors dive into that like kind of unawares. They're like, and they become a CEO as opposed to a shepherd. They become this, trying to build their mega church, their big enterprise, their kingdom, as opposed to really just trying to serve people and build the Lord's kingdom. And so that's, I think that's one of the biggest things for me as a pastor. And I think that's where a lot of church hurt has come from, is because our church has started to, not all by any means, but so many churches have modeled the business world and the structure of the business world, the C-suite, leaders, and then the board of directors and all this. They've modeled that more than they modeled what the scriptures actually describe as the early church and the pastoral care and the oversight of souls, like really caring for souls and not just seeing people as numbers or cogs in a system to kind of further what they're trying to do. So, I think that's one of the main things I think about with that. And to be honest with you, I'm not a pastor anymore, but I do try to pastor the people that I lead, right? Like I want to care for their soul first. I want to think more about what I'm doing for someone than what I need from someone, right? Because that's where we start to hurt people without knowing it. Because when we're looking to them for what we can get from them, as opposed to what we can do for them. So.
Yeah. That makes sense. I can agree with a lot of the things that you're saying. It's probably because I have a business mindset. I do see that a lot of the times that the church and the pastor that it's more business than really, you know, shepherd, as you mentioned, and it has left probably nasty taste in a lot of people's mouths. But I also think that being a pastor doesn't mean that you have to be in a church. You just kind of mentioned that as well. So I always had those arguments with my wife because it's like, one day you're gonna be a pastor. I'm like, who said I'm not doing the work now? Like, right? Every single day I have these conversations out here. That's exactly what we're doing. So I appreciate you, sharing that. Let's talk about those the fundraisers, and
Yeah,
how people can give and the sponsorship. So where do these funds go so that people that are watching right now and they do want to give, they have an understanding on where it all kind of ends up at?
yeah. So, and for us, the way we're set up financially, so we have these retreats, and students do pay to come to them, but they just pay to cover their base costs because we want to keep it as cheap as possible, so that no student is prohibited to come because of finances, right? But a wise mentor once told me once, he said, Trace, don't don't raise money, don't ask people to give for something that someone is willing to pay for. So a large part of our budget is covered by that. So we don't our events are not free because people are willing to pay for them. Of course, we offer scholarships and we raise money for that, but students cover the direct cost that they're consuming. So they cover the cost of their where you know where they're staying, the venue and the hotel or whatever, and they cover the cost of their food and t-shirt, those kind of direct costs that they're consuming. Obviously, there's a lot of overhead when you're doing something like this, and a lot of, again, to shepherd, to care for, to pastor all of our people well. That's overhead. I think some people turn away at that term overhead, but it's like, no, it's just a necessary step that is there to do the work well. Like, if we want to do the work well, there's a lot more than just the things you see on the surface. And so, we are and have been from the very beginning, continually, we are a crowd-funded ministry, I guess you'd say. So I'm trying to grow in the area of fundraising, and specifically more people just seeing what we do and why we do it, and seeing that it's needed. But for us, we have so many faithful monthly donors that give. We have fundraising events, and we have a handful of kind of larger donors, but even our larger donors are not what some people might be used to. Um, you know, but man, it's been a sweet process of seeing this growing, because here's the way I view fundraising. Um, I'm again Christian context here, so I'm going to talk. I'm going to go from what the Apostle Paul said of fundraising in Philippians 4:17. He said, "Not that I seek the gift, but I seek the fruit that increases to your credit." So that's how I view fundraising. I'm not looking for people that'll just give us money. I'm looking for people that, when they hear our mission, they go, "Man, I believe in that. I want to bear fruit in the lives of incoming college students that'll then bear fruit as they keep walking with Christ in college, and as they like, or they, it's somebody that connects and they go, oh gosh, like me starting college, that was such a hard transition, and I want to help take care of people that are making that transition." So we're looking for people that want to kind of join in with us and be a part of that. Like, and so that's what fundraising looks like for us, is come not just thinking that we want your money, that we want the gift. We want to see the fruit that increases to your credit. We want you to get credit for it. Um, and we want that fruit in the lives of more and more college students. And so for us, yes, we do fundraising events, but the biggest thing for us is just that ongoing donor base. And so, if anyone ever is interested in giving, that's, you know, oatscollaborative.com. Theoatscollaborative.com is our website, and we have, donation there where you can give monthly or one time. But even going back to our earlier conversation, Ephraim, I and our team want to have a relationship with all of our donors, because again, it's all about relationship. Is that, though, if money is just thrown at us and there's no relationship, of course we'll use it and we'll steward it well. But the biggest thing is we want partners in ministry. That's our heart.
I don't think it happens with true storytelling. All those fundraisers, I always say we are in the business of telling stories because that's how people, exactly what you mentioned, Trace, to say, wow, I can see myself either being that child or I once was that child, and I want to help other kids to never have to live that or be a part of that or whatever that may look like, right? What is a story that rings a bell to you, man, that if you were to tell someone, you know that it just kind of gets people to give? What is that story that you got, Trace?
Oh man, there's so many different stories because there's so many different stories of students. You know, we have students coming in from so many different backgrounds and so many different things that they're walking through, all that, you know. But I'll tell this story because I just had this conversation. Actually, there was one last night. I was talking to a dad whose son just came to one of our retreats last year. So he you know just finished his freshman year, but he came and he said it changed his life because he was going down a path that was really unhealthy. And he came to your retreat because he was told he should, he was told he'd meet people, but it put him around the kind of community that he needed to be around, and it's changed his trajectory in college. So I love that. But there's one story in particular. There was a guy I was talking. There was two friends. 8 years ago, they came to one of our retreats. Um, one of them, his name's Brock. He came not even really knowing what the retreat was about, and here's why he came. He was told that there was going to be a lot of cute girls there, and and so he was like, "All right, I'm in."
Love it.
He signed up for it, not really knowing what it was going to be and everything like this. But but man, he got there and he came. So yes, he came to meet girls. But again, we are, you know, a Christ Center ministry, and he met Jesus there, and his life has been changed since. So we're talking about. I was talking to him 8 years after this had happened, and here he is 8 years later, and now he is a, you know, a husband and father, and he is the guy that I was talking, you know, with Ben. They met there, and their friendship has been solid. They've been brothers, you know, for 8 years now, and it's changed his life. And man, and I didn't even know this until I was having this conversation with him a few weeks back, and it's like that's why we do it, man. That's why I do college ministry is because I believe that people, for the most part, become who they're going to be for the rest of their lives while they're in college. Like they figure out who God made them to be, and they set in their lives priorities and practices and character traits that then they're going to really walk out throughout the rest of life. Of course, there's exceptions, and of course, there's many people that don't go to college, but I just do see college as such an instrumental time in someone's life, such a critical time. And so that's why we do it, man. And I could walk you through so many other stories, but those are some of my favorites. Just seeing that uh, happen in someone's life and knowing that we got to play a little part in it. And again, really what we did is we just connected them. We say we set the table, and then we get everybody to the table that needs to know each other. Because the secret sauce of what we do is not actually an amazing event. The secret sauce is the relationships. That's the tagline to our ministry, cultivating Christ-centered relationships. That's what we're trying to do is serve people in that way. Because that's what we all need at the end of the day, right? Is
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah, I love it, and I give you up like to what you were just saying, the work that you're doing. I love to because I love plants. I'm gonna put it back to perspective of plants. Is that we are putting them in a good environment, feeding them good water. It's a seed that's been planted already. All we're doing is making sure that that seed continues to grow by finding the right people, finding the right communities, and so many people don't get to see that beautiful flower because maybe they're still in the wrong environments. Maybe they're not being fed by the right people. So Trace, what you do is really pour into the next generation, fertilize the future, as I like to say, so that they can continue to fertilize the future. And it's happening. I mean, you have 25 locations and you don't have 25 traces, right? You just have 25 different leaders out there that are doing the work that Trace just envisioned wanting to do on his own, but now he finds other people. So what you're doing is it's really tremendous, man. And I know we got to start wrapping this up, but where can people find more information about what you guys are doing, social, websites, LinkedIn? What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So yeah, website, theoakscollaborative.com. All of our socials are the same. Just search the Oaks Collaborative. And so yeah, that, you know, we're on Instagram, Facebook, those kind of things. Um, I think, you know, one of the things that we're also one of the biggest things for us, Efrain, is people finding out about what we're doing. And even if, you know, if you're not in a place where you can give, the one of the biggest areas of generosity that we're wanting to ask people of is the generosity of helping us share this with people. Because at the end of the day, like we just want more incoming freshmen to find out about it so that we can serve them. And so I'm sure a ton of your listeners are sitting there going, well, I know a bunch of, people that just graduated high school and are going off to college. So I would say get on our website, theoatscollaborative.com. You'll see a thing that says find a retreat, and you'll be able to click that link and it'll show you all the different universities that we're on. And if you're at a university and you go, hey, we need that here, then reach out to us. There's also a link on there that says start a retreat, and you click on that and it kind of, explains our process and says, reach out, let's start a conversation about possibly starting one at your school, because we want to serve every campus eventually. And the way to do that is just through, again, relationships, through those connections. So that's what I'd say. Start following us on those socials, see where we're at, and the people that you know that are already going to those colleges, and tell them, hey, you need to do this. It'll be worth it for you. That would be a huge blessing to us, because it's a huge blessing to the people who don't know about it yet, but need to know about it, because that's what breaks my heart the most. Another conversation that I don't love to have is somebody just told me the other day, they're like, I didn't go to this because I didn't know about it, but I needed it so badly. And they've really become an advocate for us of spreading word, because they don't want other people to miss out on it like they did. So that's what we would love from others, just help us spread word about it.
I love it, Trace. Man, I appreciate your time and really your insight in a space that we normally don't talk about, but really aligns with a lot of our conversations, because we do speak to those in higher ed, and hope that there's a lot more collaborations on the way. 25 schools, man. The next time I'm talking to you, and there's probably 50, we're going to speak that into existence, Trace. So you get busy, all right? Get busy. For those that are still watching, continue to share, like, subscribe. Make sure you guys also check else what Trace is doing via socials, via the website. Trace, I thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next one. Latest.